Hello guys, and welcome back to a brand new video where we're going to go over some football jokes in the obviously football community that backfired quite heavily. You guys seem to be enjoying these different types of videos, so I'm going to carry on doing them. Obviously just let me know if you do enjoy them by hitting the like button, comment down below and subscribe as well. Without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to start off here with something that happened was kind of not really Chris Smalling's fault, but he did take a bit of the blame for it. Harry Kane was naturally downbeat following Tottenham's 2-1 defeat by Manchester United in the FA Cup semi-final. But his mood would have only been made worse when he saw a tweet from an official FA account suggesting United defender Chris Smalling had kept England star striker in his pocket. The governing body were forced to issue an apology to Kane, who called the incident silly, and yeah, the tweet of course had to be removed from Twitter. So basically Smalling wasn't asked the question. It was a clip taken from a video where simply Smalling says Harry Kane's name, and the FA actually sort of manipulated that video, that clip, and put their own caption there, what is in your pocket, Chris? And then Chris goes on to say Harry Kane. Not knowing from Chris Smalling, he did get some stick from it, and it completely was not his fault really. That was taken out of context. It was taken from something else, and it was all manipulated by the FA. Now this is a bit of a throwback, guys. The Court of Leeds United proved his loyalties as a friend back in 2001 when he helped Patrick Vieira escape severe punishment from the FA despite being kicked in the throat by his fellow Frenchman. Now I am laughing. It was quite dangerous, guys. You can go on to YouTube and search for the video. It was quite bad, to be honest. After the Leeds midfielder claimed that there was no malice in the Arsenal Legends challenge, Vieira was slapped with just a 10k fine and just a one-match ban. Very, very lucky. I mean, even today, even if that happened today, and even if they said, oh, there was no malice, it was an accident, you would still probably be looking at maybe a 5-match ban. Vieira got off very lightly there. However, the court then almost landed both himself and Vieira in some serious trouble when he joked on French television that he'd lied about the severity of the incident. The Leeds man was forced to clarify his comments to the FA. Luckily enough, managed to convince the FA it was just a bit of a joke, what he'd said on French TV. He's fine, he's cool with Vieira, and you know, there's no need for any further action. Back to more recent times, we are resuming with Phil Neville. The then Everton captain, Phil Neville, appeared to channel his inner Bernard Manning when he first started embracing Twitter back in 2011. In quotation marks here, guys, relax, I'm back chilled, just battered the wife, 3 exclamation marks, feel better now, exclamation mark, and the quote there. That was the most peculiar of 3 tweets and posts, which ranged from casually sexist to misogynistic. Of course, they inevitably resurfaced recently when he was hired as England women's manager 7 years later after posting the tweets. I'm not a sexist, I've lived my life right, Neville rebutted at his first press conference. I don't know why you would, that tweet that I read out there about battering his, I don't get like even the humour to that, you know. I don't know what was going through his head. Was he drunk possibly? I don't know. I mean, you live and you learn, Phil. You definitely live and you learn. Throwing it back to 1996, the year I was born, Mark Bosnich developed a cocaine addiction and almost once shot his dad with an air rifle. But surprisingly enough, that's not why he's in this video. His most controversial episode occurred during a 1996 game at Tottenham Hotspur at White Hart Lane, a club renowned of course for its Jewish following. When he was taunted by Tottenham fans on the White Hart Lane terraces, the self-destructive goalkeeper inexplicably decided the ideal response to the jeers of the Tottenham fans was to do a Nazi salute to them. He did apologise, but was fined £1,000 by the FA. Probably not one of his finest moments, I'm not going to lie. It was a very, I mean, we all heard of, you younger viewers probably maybe just heard of the likes of Oliver Kahn, the German goalkeeper, Mad Jens Lehmann of Arsenal. This guy was up there with them. I mean, freaking insane, to say it the least. Twitter seems to be the main place for sort of controversial jokes within the football community. Carton Cole up next. He's obviously, I think over the years it would have been daft not to put him into this. I'm going to quote a tweet of his. "Immigration has surrounded the Wembley premises. I knew it was a trap," joked the West Ham forward on Twitter while watching England's friendly with Ghana back in 2011, before adding, "The only way to get out safely is to wear an England jersey and paint your face with the St George's flag." Cole quickly deleted the offending tweets, but the ex-Chelsea striker was still forced to hand over a 5-figure sum after being hit with an improper conduct charge by the FA. I don't think... Could somebody explain the effect? Like, I don't really see... Compared to the other things in this so far, I don't know. It wasn't too bad in my opinion. I don't know. It's still unprofessional, I guess. And as a footballer, I always think when you're somebody that is looked up to in the likes of, well, anybody sort of linked with football, professional footballer, manager, coaches, you know, whether you're a player, coach, manager, chairman, whatever, you have a professional role, and I think you should act in that matter. Obviously, when out in public, I think it's only right to do that, and I think if you don't, then you must face the consequences, because at the end of the day, you know, football always has a young audience, and those youngsters look up to people like Cole and even Bosnich, everybody we've mentioned so far, and you know, when they see people saying things like that and think it's okay, they kind of need to know that it's not okay. David Moyes didn't do much to dispel football's chauvinistic reputation following a 2017 interview with BBC's Vicky Sparks. I think you all know where this is going. Unaware the cameras were still rolling, the then Sunderland boss chided the reporter for asking a question he deemed to be a wee bit naughty, telling her that she still might get a slap even though you're a woman next time round. Although Sparks could be heard laughing at the remark, Moyes subsequently criticised by people from domestic charities to Labour's shadow sports minister as well. He was to pay a £30,000 fine for by the equally unimpressed FA as well. Yeah, not one of Dave's finest moments, I have to say. If you ever wondered just what the hell happened to Mamadou Sakho and how he ended up from Liverpool to Crystal Palace, etc., when you've already rubbed your boss up the wrong way by turning up late for a flight, a team flight, I must add, training sessions, and also a very important team meal, it's probably not the best of ideas to risk further ire by hijacking your manager's TV interview. Yeah, that was exactly what Sakho did to Jurgen Klopp during Liverpool's pre-season trip to Alcatraz in 2016. Armed with his own GoPro camera, the tardy centre-back decided to muscle in on Klopp's televised chat with LFC TV. The fact that he was subsequently banished to the reserves probably wasn't a coincidence after that episode there. Safe to say Klopp was least than impressed. Just what happened to Hatem Ben Arfa? France Football revealed just last month actually that Ben Arfa hasn't played for Paris Saint-Germain since April 2017 due to a seemingly offensive joke he made about the approachability of the club's president Nasser El Khelaifi. The former Newcastle winger hasn't exactly endeared himself to manager Unai Emery either, obviously no longer manager of PSG. Supposedly mocking the Spaniard's attempts to speak French, as well as telling him he wasn't good enough to take even the world's best team to the last stage of the Champions League. Very harsh, very harsh. I think with Ben Arfa, he was so decent at Newcastle, and then it all went pear-shaped for him. He's definitely one of them that gets too big for his boots kind of thing. He's got a right chip on his shoulder, safe to say at the least. But it's all backfired for him. And yeah, he's not seen any game time since then. Looks likely that he won't be part of PSG's plans in the future. I could be wrong, but that's the way it's looking at the minute. Wayne Rooney definitely has had quite a lot of controversial moments throughout his career. Greater Manchester Police faced an online backlash back in 2015. Do you guys know where this is going now? After tweeting the following: "Missing person, Wayne Rooney. Last seen in the Trafford area wearing a red shirt. Any sightings? Please inform colleagues." The post, which was referring to the Manchester United striker's loss of form, was heavily criticised for trivialising the issue of missing persons and was, of course, quickly deleted. I do get that. I think it was it was tried to be a bit of a light-hearted joke there, but yeah, I mean, in a time where people go missing literally every single day, probably wasn't the brightest of ideas from the Greater Manchester Police there. Incredibly as well, that same weekend, the Merseyside Police casually responded to a tweet about Sunderland being raped by Everton at Goodison Park. So, not the finest of moments, and yet again, like I say, social media can be quite a problem. People tend to voice things that get interpreted really wrong, and they sort of word things the wrong way as well. So once you post something on Twitter, guys, we all know it's there. You might delete it, but somewhere out there, someone screenshotted that straight away. Now we're going to talk about Rodney Marsh. For those younger viewers, he is the guy that is pictured on the right here, with the, what even colour tie is that? Sort of light purple, like a lilac-y grey coloured tie there. Guy on the right anyway. Making light of a natural disaster which almost killed 30,000 people probably isn't the best idea. Appearing live on Sky Sports as well, the ex-Manchester City forward Rodney Marsh jokingly claimed that David Beckham had snubbed Newcastle United due to the trouble with the Toon Army in Asia. So the way that he said it was sort of like Toonami, and obviously Tsunami in Asia. Not only did the Marsh's quip make little sense, which I totally agree, it was a poor joke. It wasn't even like, it didn't even make much sense. It's a bit of a stretch, wasn't it, really? Definitely wouldn't go to watch this guy do stand-up. It also came just weeks after the earthquake and tsunami which devastated over a dozen countries that are surrounded by the Indian Ocean. Obviously a huge disaster. I still remember it now, clear as day. And yeah, at the time David Beckham linked to Newcastle, said he wouldn't go, snubbed them. Poor, very, very, very poor joke there. Despite apologising for his tasteless remark anyway, Marsh lost his job. I don't think he's done any major punditry since then either. This guy, again, for any younger viewers that aren't too sure, Walter de Gregorio, quotation marks here, guys, the FIFA president, secretary general, and communications are in a car. Who's driving? The police. Absolutely very uncanny, to say at the least. Compared to the other wannabe comedians on the list, Walter de Gregorio's one-liner about the scandal that ripped football's ultimate governing body apart is actually pretty decent. I have to say, pretty good joke, pretty fair joke. What's the major problem here, guys? Does anybody know? It absolutely sprouts hypocrisy. The only problem is that De Gregorio became one of the people that he actually referenced in the joke, taking up the position as FIFA Communications Director. Oh dear, Walter. Oh dear. You, I mean, you definitely put yourself in for that one there, mate. There's no defending it. You can't make a joke about somebody and then go on to be that somebody. But never mind, guys. Anyway, that does bring me to the end of this video. I hope you all have enjoyed it. If you have any funny, controversial sort of comments made on social media, doesn't have to be social media, but you've witnessed in football in the past, feel free to share them down below in the comment section down below. I look forward to hearing some of your guys. This is obviously things that bear in mind, I'm only 22, guys, so I'm 22 this year, so I've only gone back to as far as I possibly, could have heard of and stuff. If you have enjoyed it, smash the thumbs up for me, guys. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, if you want me to do anything else like this in the future as well. Let me know in the comment section down below. With all of that being said, I will see you guys in the next video.